New info on the final battle for Azeroth. Ranalash, the End Times. Okay, so I guess this have to do with some of the new information that came out about the final raid for the War Within. So let's see what this is about.
They have been telling us about this for nearly 2 decades now, and it is finally happening, the final battle of World of Warcraft. You might remember the offer Xera gave to Illidan back in Legion, and it looks like him refusing this might have been a mistake, no matter how badass it sounded. She saw him as the leader of the final battle against the Void. Velen got the exact same vision in Cataclysm, and his action was to start settling the Draenei on Azeroth, which is literally what is happening right now in the Draenei Heritage questline with the new capital. Even more interestingly, we just learned the Light Emperor got the same vision 15 years ago, which lines up perfectly as the exact same time Velen got this vision. The only difference was he acted right away. He sent a massive army to fight the so-called Harbinger and her grotesque army of many limbs. He calls it Ranalash, the final battle against the Void, and seeing that we got a book talking about this vision, it is pretty much exactly what is happening right now in the War Within and Midnight. By all accounts, this should be way bigger than the strongest Burning Legion invasion, and it is going to be crazy. The return of Sargeras, Illidan, Anduin, Velen, this new Light Emperor. So what is Ranalash?
So I recently checked that one state, and if you're into roleplay, this is literally the coolest thing you can do right now on your phone. This is an open world game with 500 plus people online in a single map, a real life simulator in a vast open world, and you can choose your own destiny. Some play as cops that enforce the law, some as soldiers, and you can even form your own gangs. They just released a major update called It's Tagging Time, where they introduced the opportunity for players to create their own gang and compete for the
title. I don't know, this whole the Light Emperor is going to play a huge role. I'm excited to see what he looks like, what his character model looks like and everything. It's been a while since we've got a big badass man added to the game. You guys know I like that shit.
Amazing optimized graphics. So it's never been a better time to start playing One State. Click the link in the description below and use my promo code and join me in game. One State. Create your own story.
Nice.
If you've been following the beta or the alpha, you must have heard of the name Ranalash by now. Originally, by mistake, I thought this was a continent or a zone, but this is an event, and better yet, the event, the battle for Azeroth that is going to be coming. Think of it something like Ragnarok, the End Times. Super long story short, but there is a Light Emperor on an undiscovered continent. He got a vision, sent a huge expedition, which are these yellowfall humans we're discovering in Kanzlagar. Seems more like a legend, but when you actually connect this to the old and established lore, it is amazing how interconnected it all is. They have been telling us about this for nearly 2 decades, and now it is finally happening. First time we ever heard about this dark vision or light vision was back in Cataclysm. The Prophert Velen, really the most ancient character at the moment who can predict the future, hence the name Prophet, suddenly got this vision that shook him to the core. And seeing that this is a guy that saw planets destroyed multiple times, he's not exactly a person that gets easily shook. So around the time of Cataclysm, Velen got the vision of every horde and alliance race standing shoulder to shoulder, armored and armed with glowing weaponry, light enhanced. Flying mounts were everywhere, Naru and innumerable dragons. Keep in mind the dragons because that is incredibly relevant.
So he saw basically the final battle, Army of the Light versus the Void. That's what he was envisioning. And the Alliance and Horde aligned with each other. Yeah, that's already happened. So that part of the vision has basically come true. But the whole Army of the Light thing, I just wonder how they're going to play on that with everything that happened after WoD. Right, what was her name? The frickin' crazy, she went nuts, frickin' light army that basically enslaved all the orcs and all that shit. How are they going to play that? If are they going to have 2 versions of the light? Maybe. We know the Hallowfall guys, they're playing with like a flaming light, which is different than the light we've dealt with. Yrel, yeah. Yrel, straight up, she went Nazi, man. She lost her damn mind. Went full-on light invasion of the orcs and everything, of Draenor. So how are they going to play off of that? I'm sure we're going to see her again soon, and we'll have to see how the light is portrayed going forward.
But now, as Dragonflight is wrapping up, this gigantic army was led by a human warrior in shiny armor. At the moment, it could be Tyrellian or Anduin, even though they're not technically warriors, but those are specifics. Also, it could be the Light Emperor. We don't really know if he's a warrior or a paladin. What Velen saw was Azeroth as a gigantic battleground. He was so taken back by this vision that he instructed the Draenei to remain on Azeroth and to make his own people and planet strong. guess what just happened at the end of the Dragonflight? We got the Draenei Heritage questline of them finally setting here permanently, building a new Draenei capital city, and uniting all the Draenei races that are technically Draenei, so the demon ones, the broken, and even the half-orcs. As Velen said, we must prepare the people of this world to stand together. We must be their example to rally against evil. In service, we will awaken them all to form the ultimate alliance against the dark. Another one of Velen's visions saw Anduin as an old man leading the gigantic light army in the final battle against the Void. Now, later, it was said that this is just one of the possible realities, but let's be real.
Yeah, basically it was retconned. That's what it was. It was retconned. They tried to say, oh, it was one possibility. That's the way that they play with shit now, is, oh, these are all different timelines and possibilities and shit. In reality, this was probably the end game they were going for, and then they retconned it. So I don't think Anduin's going to be this old anymore, even though I thought this was a really badass version of Anduin.
The possible realities, but let's be real, Anduin is currently the main character of the entire saga, or at least the War Within, and while he's not exactly an old man, he has mentally aged quite a lot over the years, so this vision is no longer crazy. Now you might think, not a big deal, this is just one of the old visions, but let me just show you how this not only connects with Zera and Legion as well as Illidan and his possible return, but also the new books we had found in the beta about Arathi and their visions, and you will see that this is definitely coming soon, and it has been foreshadowed for so long. So chronologically, next down the line, the big continuation of this vision happened with the Prime Naru, Zera. You might remember the entire ordeal of her trying to convert Illidan, and then Illidan having the badass moment of saying, my destiny is my own, but she might have actually been onto something here. I've been talking about this for a while now. Us defeating the Legion was really not that big of a deal, even though it seemed like the end of Warcraft back in like 2016. We had saved Azeroth, but by doing that, we had exposed ourselves.
Hold on, that shit happened in 2016? Oh my god, man. I'm getting old as shit. That was like 8 years ago? Holy crap. Oh my god, man, where's time going?
Larger attack that is going to be happening right now. As you might know, the Burning Legion existed solely to deal with the Void Lord threat.
That's
they
crazy.
constantly attacked us, they destroyed multiple planets as a part of this plan, and we were always caught in the way, but the entire reason Sargeras started the entire thing was to destroy the Void Lords. His forces were constantly battling the Void on many fronts that we never saw. Now, check this out. We imprisoned him, we broke this army, and that gave the Void Lords open hands to focus all their efforts on our planet. Well, Prime Naru Zera saw...
We gotta remember, though, Sargeras' plan to destroy the Void Lords and shit is not different than his siblings, right? Like, he's just like the other Titans. He just wants ultimately order. He just had a different way of doing it. He didn't think that they could be, you know, imprisoned and kept alive. He just thought, you gotta destroy everything. There can't be disorder if there's nothing to disorder, right? You can't make a mess in the room if you just delete everything from the room. That was his way of doing things. Whereas siblings thought, oh no, we'll just keep everything organized and nice, and if we notice a mess, we'll just go clean it up by obliterating that, you know, that little section or re-originating something, doing that kind of shit. But at the end of the day, I mean, Sargeras' plan is the same. His endgame goal is the same. It's just clear out the void, make sure there's no disorder.
All their efforts on our planet. Well, Prime Naru Zera saw the exact same thing nearly 10 years ago. Zera believed that the Legion is really not that big of a deal. She believed the Void was a far, far greater foe, and that all the people needed to be united, and that Illidan was the one that was destined to be the hero and lead the army against them. In her vision, Illidan was supposed to lead legions of the light against the gigantic Void creatures on a terrible battlefield with mountains of corpses. Now, you might realize that this vision of the Prime Naru is kind of the exact same thing as the one given to Velen. It is likely that Zera might be the one that planted that in his head as well. However, it's the same thing. Two giant armies of opposite forces battling on a massive battlefield. The only difference is a human leading in the vision of Velen, while Illidan is leading in Zera's vision. I've talked about this so many times by now, but Illidan is almost certainly going to return, and while he might not lead the light army, he's definitely going to be relevant. By all the new lore, there is obviously a huge lie going on with the Titans, the entire Sargeras split. The Titans will return, and Illidan, as the jailer of Sargeras, is definitely not just going to remain chilling there, serving the Titan Pantheon as they're destroying our planet.
They have to be talking, right? I mean, Sargeras and Illidan have to be chatting it up a little bit, at least, during the time. Maybe not early on. I'm sure Illidan was probably telling him, shut the hell up early on in the imprisonment. But there's no way these two aren't, you know, talking about the universe and sharing their thoughts on things and probably convincing each other or realizing that they both kind of been duped a little bit. Maybe there's some they're kind of fighting on the same side in some versions of the story, and maybe they both come back and help defeat the Void.
and go by all the means necessary, I think
it'd be a kind of a cool moment. And it wouldn't be necessarily a redemption arc for Sargeras. I just want to make that clear. I don't think he gets redeemed necessarily, but we're kind of on the same side. We both want to defeat the Void.
And dealing with the Legion was a short-term solution, and the big problem is about to come. Now, speculation aside, I want to show you the new info. We not only got new dialogues from the beta, but also books that continue on this vision, and
Reverse Stockholm Syndrome, yeah.
This is not only connected, but it is actually coming, and when I say coming, I mean it's literally going to be coming soon. So, by this point, you might know about the Light Emperor. I don't want to repeat myself again, I got multiple videos on this, but let me just give you the shortest bullet points of everything we know for certainty.
Tundra, you say the other Titans are with them. They can go to that, you know, what's it called, the Pantheon, whatever the hell they call it, but they're not constantly there. They do move around. They're not just sitting on their thrones, visually seeing everything. They obviously they weren't there at some point. I believe that they can leave, and there is going to be time alone between Sargeras and Illidan. I don't think the Titans are just sitting there listening to them.
Empire is very rich and powerful. They consider themselves the successors, or not even successors, but the actual Arathi Empire. They left the continent of the Eastern Kingdoms, but it's not like they're a breakaway kingdom like Lordaeron, but they still
are locked there at the end. I'm pretty sure.
Empire. They're a mix between humans and high elves. Over time, they develop.
I guess we'll find out. I didn't think they were.
A really powerful
I know they were weakened, but they can regather that strength. I don't think they were just going to be stuck there forever.
Form of light magic, unlike anything we've seen before, the Sacred Flame, something of like a mix between light and fire. They are very light devoted, they seem very fanatical, as in proclaiming they will die for the Emperor, and they also might not exactly be their good guys. This is kind of ambiguous at the moment. Some dialogue implies that they might not like a lot of the other playable races. So, about 15 years ago, the enlightened Emperor of this powerful empire got the vision. I want you to keep in mind the timeline, as this is pretty much happened exactly when Velen got the vision during Cataclysm. Seeing that both of them are light servants of the Narrow, it is almost certain they got the vision from the same source, but maybe different variations. However, the actions were drastically different. Velen got really worried, decided to consolidate his people, but the Emperor just acted. And not just acted, I mean acted immediately. Sent a gigantic army to go to battle right away. No convincing.
He says the reactions were different, but they kind of weren't. Just one was a bit slower than the other. But in reality, it seems like the Vision's goal is to gather all the denizens that will fight on its side, or the light side, in one place, because the ultimate battle's going to come. And as the Jailer once said, a cosmos divided, you know, it will fall, or whatever the fuck it was. You know, whatever the hell that bald man said at the end, it has to be united, right, to fight the oncoming threats. So all these visions kind of were leading to the same thing, and that was gathering all of the forces of Azeroth in one spot, totaled, ready to fight this ultimate, you know, end game boss.
In prophecies, he was like, yeah, this is it.
One seems defensive, one seems offensive, yeah, but both are gathering.
Remains of this expedition, and originally they were a much larger army. As we had learned, they had ventured through a gigantic storm, got immediately teleported underground.
You gotta remember too, I mean, being offensive usually goes to a more powerful nation, right? The Arathi seemed like this Light Emperor's kingdom, the Arathi-ish kingdom. It seems like it was very powerful at the time, so they could be offensive. Whereas you had, you know, the Dry Knight, they were kind of broken as shit, right? They're being beaten down by the Legion and everything else, so they had to act more in a defensive way.
To the
can't be offensive when you get your ass kicked.
The thing is, this was only supposed to be the invasion point. He didn't just send a few of these guys. Originally, mages were supposed to open portals here and connect the mainland so they can receive reinforcements, but they all just ended up dying in the crash. Now, the humans originally thought they might have been screwed over, as in they were just teleported to this random place instead of this giant battle, but by all what is going on right now, it seems like they are exactly where they should be. They just arrived 15 years earlier to set the ground. Now, check out the new book from the beta called A Song of Vanillage that gives more context on this vision and what is going on. The Arathi, the Guardians of the Sacred Flame, form the Aegis Shield, which is a battle formation, and the forces of the Harbinger arrived. Nightmares of legs and claws with a grotesque dance echo the rhythms of the world that is on the brink of destruction. The wall built of the living rock of the Titans bore the conflict, and the remnants of the gods scattered across the battlefield. Amidst the chaos, the Forgotten One cried when the last star fades, the Emperor's crown will weigh heavy with the sins of 1,000 years. Now, immediately, you can see that this vision they got of Renilash, the battle that is to come, is pretty much exactly what is happening right now in the World Soul Saga. Unlike Velen's biggest vision of the giant light and dark army that is going to come to Azeroth, the Emperor got the vision of the forces of the Harbinger way before we even knew that Xal'atath is a thing. He knew about Xal'atath and her Nerubian army that is coming, and he knew that the world will be on the brink of destruction, as you can obviously see from the new trailer with what is going on with those void-like shadows going over Azeroth, which, by the way, is exactly what destroyed Karesh. The only thing is, this is happening 15 years later than he had seen, but then again, we don't really know the full details of this vision. The wall built of living rock of the Titans is really interesting. It might include something.
I know. When I read that, I was like, what the hell is that? Is that a legitimate wall, or is that the Titans holding up a wall? What the hell is that about? But yeah, it sounds like the Titans are definitely fighting against the Void in that.
Or might be talking about this happening on top of Titan structures, maybe the new facility we had to discover. Remember, the Titan facility of Oldas has been foreshadowed. It is still a mystery, but we know it exists for certain, we just don't know where it is. Even more interestingly, remnants of gods scattered across the battlefield, and they're also talking about the Forgotten One. Could it be possible that the Forgotten One is the 5th old god that we've been talking about for quite a while, that we discovered in the mural that Xal'atath is getting the blood off?
Maybe.
Check out my previous video on this because it's super interesting. Also, interesting enough, you can talk to an Arathi guy, and he says he's also confused who these gods are. Are these gods we're yet to meet, gods that died long ago, or something entirely different? And they're kind of leaving this open-ended and mysterious.
Interesting.
Furthermore, if you want an even bigger confirmation, we got it from the source itself, Chris Madsen, who told us that the final battle of the Light and the Void is going to be happening on Azeroth at midnight, where things will spiral wildly out of control. So, what Velen saw was right, what Zero saw was right, what Emperor saw was right. How this event is going to play out, it is hard to say. I feel like it will be a mix between all these visions, but by all the build-up and the events, this is going to be way bigger than the Burning Legion invasion we got a decade ago, and we might see something unlike anything we had ever seen before in World of Warcraft. We might actually lose. Thank you for watching. Check out the Faithful God and how he's still alive by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Roman mythology and the Cult of Mithras by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, we're actually supposed to take a loss at some point, and everyone believes it's going to be in the Midnight expansion or the end of the War Within leading into Midnight. Like, that's where the loss is going to happen, and I'm fine with that. I think we should take a loss. Being immortal is kind of, you know, nothing exciting about it when you always... That was the one thing that was great about Game of Thrones. You never knew who was going to die next, at least early on. And, you know, some people became invincible towards the end. But I never lose. That's right. We're all going to lose except Warblade. But great video, interesting lore. No real leaks there, but some interesting stuff in terms of the whole final battle, which has been a prophecy going on in WoW for a long time. We thought it was going to be against the Legion, and now we know it's really the Light and the Void.